Number 1. The 1963 Ford Fairlane. The 1963 Ford Fairlane is a great example of an early 1960s American classic that combines simple styling with a strong dose of V8 character. This particular Fairlane has also received several mechanical upgrades, making it more than just a vintage cruiser. Listed in Hammonton, New Jersey, this Fairlane is priced at $17,000 to $18,000, with the seller indicating that reasonable offers will be considered. Under the hood is a 302 cubic inch Ford V8, paired with a rebuilt C6 automatic transmission. The C6 is one of Ford's most respected automatic transmissions, known for its strength and durability, making it a particularly interesting upgrade for a classic Fairlane. The engine also benefits from a number of newer components, including an MSD ignition system, new coil, new distributor, and a Holley 670 CFM Street Avenger carburetor. A new fuel pump has also been installed. These upgrades should give the Fairlane a more responsive feel while improving ignition reliability compared with an older factory-style setup. The seller describes the car as being in very nice shape and calls it a good cruiser that sounds good. That description fits the personality of this build well. Rather than being presented as a concours restoration, this appears to be a classic intended to be driven and enjoyed. Interestingly, the car was originally a 3-speed manual with a column shifter, commonly known as 3 on the tree. The seller states that the necessary pedal and linkage are still in the car, meaning a future owner could potentially convert it back to a manual transmission if desired. The seller also mentions having a substantial amount of documentation, which could be valuable for understanding the Fairlane's history and verifying previous work. In my opinion, the combination of the 302 V8 and rebuilt C6 automatic gives this Fairlane a very usable classic car drivetrain. It's a setup that should be relatively straightforward to maintain while offering plenty of character for weekend cruising. At $17,000 to $18,000, the price puts this Fairlane into a range where the overall body and structural condition become extremely important. A buyer should carefully inspect the floors, frame rails, trunk, suspension mounting points, and body for rust or previous repairs. I'd also want to see documentation for the transmission rebuild and confirm that the MSD ignition, Holley carburetor, fuel system, and cooling system are all operating properly. The possibility of returning the car to a manual transmission is another interesting bonus for enthusiasts who prefer a more involved driving experience. Overall, this 1963 Ford Fairlane looks like an appealing V8 cruiser with a strong drivetrain, useful upgrades, and plenty of potential for personalization. For someone looking for an early 1960s Ford that can be driven and enjoyed without starting from scratch, this Fairlane could be a very interesting option, especially if the documentation and structural condition check out. Number 2. The 1967 Chevrolet Chevelle SS Tribute. If you're looking for a classic Chevelle with a strong muscle car presence without stepping into the six-figure price range, this 1967 Chevrolet Chevelle SS Tribute is definitely worth a closer look. This example is listed for $39,500 in Webster, New York, near Rochester. It has a reported 63,896 miles, an automatic transmission, and a striking flame red exterior with a black top and black interior. Under the hood is a mildly built 327 cubic inch V8, giving this Chevelle the traditional small block Chevrolet character that makes these cars so enjoyable to drive. It's paired with a 700R4 automatic transmission, which is an especially interesting upgrade for anyone who wants classic styling with more modern highway drivability. The 700R4 provides an overdrive gear, allowing the engine to turn lower RPMs while cruising at highway speeds. In my opinion, that's one of the most practical upgrades you can put into a classic street car, especially if you actually plan to drive it rather than leave it parked in the garage. Visually, this Chevelle has a very traditional muscle car attitude. The flame red paint, black roof, and black interior create a combination that looks aggressive without being overly flashy. The seller describes the restoration as older but says the paint and body still show well, with straight panels and nice door jambs. there's also plenty of attention underneath. The car features power steering and power brakes, making it easier to live with in modern traffic. The suspension has been upgraded with rear coilovers, while the car retains a 10-bolt rear end. Most importantly, the seller describes it as a rock-solid, turnkey driver. That phrase tells me this car is being presented as something you can actually enjoy on the road, rather than a trailer queen that needs to be treated like a museum piece. One important detail for potential buyers is the SS Tribute designation. This is not being represented as a factory-built 1967 Chevelle SS. For some collectors, factory authenticity is everything. But for someone who simply wants the aggressive appearance and driving experience of a classic SS-style Chevelle, a tribute car can offer a much more accessible way into the hobby. At $39,500, I'd want to carefully compare the car's condition, restoration quality, drivetrain, and documentation with other 1967 Chevelles in the market. I would also verify the quality of the older restoration and inspect the body, floors, frame, and suspension before making an offer. Overall, I think this is an interesting driver-focused Chevelle. The mild 327, overdrive 700R4, power steering, power brakes, and coilover rear suspension give it a nice blend of classic style and modern usability. If you're looking for a red 1967 Chevelle that looks the part, drives well, and can be enjoyed on the road, this one certainly deserves a spot on the list. Number 3. The 1964 Pontiac GTO Coupe. The 1964 Pontiac GTO is one of the cars credited with helping launch the American muscle car era, and this example takes that legendary formula to a much higher level with a complete rotisserie restoration and serious performance upgrades. Located in Fremont, Ohio, this GTO is listed for $75,000. It shows 92,807 miles, features a black exterior with a white interior, and is equipped with a 4-speed manual transmission. The seller describes the car as being in excellent condition, with a clean title and no significant reported problems. According to the seller, more than $100,000 has been invested in the car, and it has undergone a complete rotisserie restoration. That type of restoration typically means the body was separated from the chassis, so the structure, underside, suspension, and other components could be thoroughly restored rather than simply refinishing the visible exterior. Under the hood is a Pontiac 428 V8, bored .030 over, and fitted with a .540 lift performance camshaft and a massive 1050 CFM racing carburetor. This is clearly a build designed with performance in mind rather than simply maintaining factory specifications. Power is delivered through a Muncie 4-speed manual transmission, giving the GTO the classic muscle car experience enthusiasts expect. Out back, the car features a 4.10 rear gear, which should provide strong acceleration and make the big Pontiac engine feel especially responsive. Another important detail is the original 78X engine block, adding an element of authenticity and historical interest to an otherwise heavily upgraded performance build. The seller also states that the car comes with complete PHS documentation. Pontiac Historic Services documentation can be especially valuable for a classic Pontiac because it can help establish how the vehicle was originally configured when it left the factory. With more than 6 figures reportedly invested into the restoration, this GTO is clearly being presented as a high-end enthusiast car rather than an ordinary driver. In my opinion, the biggest appeal here is the combination of restoration quality, documentation, and serious performance. A 1964 GTO is already historically important, but a complete rotisserie restoration backed by PHS documentation and a professionally built Pontiac 428 makes this example particularly interesting. The 4.10 gears, Muncie 4-speed, aggressive cam, and 1050 CFM carburetor suggest this car is meant to be exciting behind the wheel, not simply admired in a garage. At $75,000, it's a substantial investment, but compared with the seller's claimed $100,000 plus investment, this could be an attractive opportunity for a collector who wants a highly finished and heavily documented early GTO with serious muscle car performance. Number 4. The 1967 Chevrolet Chevelle SS Tribute. Here's a classic that delivers the look of a first-generation Chevelle SS without pretending to be something it isn't. This 1967 Chevrolet Chevelle SS Tribute is listed for $42,500 in the Rochester, New York area, and it has 68,489 miles showing on the odometer. The car is finished in a striking flame red exterior, complemented by a black vinyl top and black interior. According to the seller, it received an older restoration and still presents very well today. Under the hood is a mildly built 327 cubic inch V8 paired with a 700 R4 automatic transmission. That's an interesting combination for a classic Chevelle because the 700 R4 adds overdrive, making the car more practical for highway cruising than a traditional 3-speed automatic. The seller also reports power steering and power brakes, along with rear coilovers and a 10-bolt rear end. From the description, the body and paint are straight, the door jambs are clean, and the car is described as rock solid. Most importantly, the seller calls it a turnkey driver. And that's where this Chevelle becomes interesting. This isn't being presented as a freshly completed, numbers-matching Concours restoration. Instead, it's a classic that's been built and maintained with driving in mind. Personally, I like that approach. You get the aggressive appearance of an SS-style Chevelle, the familiar sound and character of a small block 327, and the convenience of a modern overdrive transmission without paying the premium associated with a genuine, highly documented SS. At $42,500 or best offer, though, the price still deserves a close look. A potential buyer should verify the SS Tribute details, inspect the quality of the older restoration, check for rust or previous body repairs, and carefully examine the drivetrain and suspension. It's also worth confirming the condition of the 700 R4 transmission and making sure the rear coilover setup was installed properly. The seller is offering a walk-around video, and shipping is available, which could make the buying process easier for someone outside New York. Overall, this 1967 Chevrolet Chevelle SS Tribute looks like an attractive choice for someone who wants the classic Chevelle appearance with a more driver-focused mechanical combination. It may not have the collector value of a genuine SS, but that's not necessarily the point. For the ride enthusiast, this could be a great-looking turnkey cruiser, a red and black Chevelle that you can actually take out, enjoy, and put some miles on. The asking price is $42,500, and the car is located in Rochester, New York. Number 5. The 1968 Chevrolet Camaro Convertible. This 1968 Chevrolet Camaro Convertible, located in Galena, Ohio, is listed for $57,500 and is presented as a beautifully restored SS Tribute with a strong emphasis on both appearance and drivability. Finished in white with a black interior, this Camaro has 82,612 miles and is powered by a 350 cubic inch V8 equipped with a Holley 750 carburetor and electric choke. The engine is paired with a 2-speed Powerglide automatic transmission and a 10-bolt rear end with 2.73 gearing. For improved stopping power, the car has been upgraded with 4-wheel disc brakes, while power steering makes it easier to handle during relaxed cruising. The restoration was reportedly completed between fall 2025 and spring 2026, and the seller provides an unusually detailed list of the work performed. Some of the highlights include a new convertible top, replacement interior, new glass, new gas tank, cold case aluminum radiator, new battery, chrome intake manifold, chrome valve covers, chrome air cleaner, new rally wheels, upgraded lighting, new weather stripping, fresh hoses, new door and trunk components, and new seat belts. The Camaro also received 2-inch drop spindles, giving it a slightly lower stance without completely changing its classic appearance. Inside, the car features a retro sound Bluetooth radio, additional speakers, period-correct floor mats, and a replacement interior. The seller has also included a period-correct jack and tool kit, spare tire, trunk mat, and spare tire cover. One feature I particularly like about this listing is the documentation. The sale includes a binder containing receipts, warranty cards, manuals, and other paperwork, which can be extremely valuable when evaluating a recently restored classic. The seller says the Camaro is garage-kept, driven only in fair weather, and well-maintained. It's also sold with a car cover and parade boot, adding to its appeal as a weekend cruiser or show car. It's important to note that this is an SS Tribute, not necessarily a factory SS. That's an important distinction for collectors, and buyers should verify the car's original specifications and documentation before paying a premium based on SS appearance. Personally, I think this Camaro's biggest strength is how complete the package appears to be. It isn't simply a cosmetic restoration. The seller has addressed cooling, brakes, suspension, interior, electrical equipment, weather sealing, and numerous small details that can make a classic much more enjoyable to actually own. At $57,500, the price is significant, so the quality of the restoration and the documentation will be critical. A thorough inspection of the body, frame, convertible structure, drivetrain, and restoration work would be highly recommended. The 1968 Chevrolet Camaro Convertible already has one of the most desirable body styles from the first-generation Camaro era. And with a 350 V8, four-wheel disc brakes, fresh restoration, classic rally wheels, a new convertible top, extensive documentation, and an SS Tribute appearance, this example looks built for someone who wants a polished classic that's ready to cruise, attend shows, and enjoy on sunny weekends. Number 6. The 1966 Chevelle Coupe. The 1966 Chevrolet Chevelle is one of those classic American cars that still has an unmistakable muscle car presence more than half a century after it first hit the road. This particular example keeps things relatively simple, combining classic Chevelle styling with a small block V8 and a few performance and suspension upgrades. Listed for $25,000 in Shamokin, Pennsylvania, this 1966 Chevelle Coupe is described as being in good condition. Under the hood is a 350 cubic inch small block Chevrolet V8, one of the most popular and widely supported engines in the classic car world. The engine is equipped with a mild performance camshaft, suggesting that the car was built with a little extra personality rather than being left completely stock. The seller also mentions 202 cylinder heads, which are associated with Chevrolet's small block performance applications. Combined with the camshaft, this setup should give the Chevelle a more aggressive character while maintaining the basic simplicity and serviceability that makes small block Chevys so popular. On the chassis side, the car has received new tubular-style control arms. That's an important upgrade because the suspension plays a major role in how a classic Chevelle handles, particularly when additional engine performance has been added. The result is a car that appears to combine traditional 1960s styling with a few modern performance touches. One thing I like about this particular listing is that the modifications don't appear excessive. The 350 small block, mild cam, and upgraded control arms create a straightforward combination that should appeal to someone who wants a classic Chevelle that can be driven and enjoyed rather than simply displayed. At $25,000, however, the overall condition of the body will be a major factor in determining whether the asking price makes sense. With a classic Chevelle, rust, previous body repairs, frame condition, and the quality of any paintwork can have a significant impact on value. A potential buyer should also verify the condition of the 350 engine, identify exactly which 202 heads are installed, and inspect the transmission, brakes, steering, suspension, and cooling system before making an offer. The seller's description is very brief, so an in-person inspection or detailed walk-around video would be especially useful here. Overall, this 1966 Chevelle Coupe looks like a promising classic muscle car with a 350 small block V8, mild performance cam, 202 heads, and upgraded tubular control arms. For someone who wants the unmistakable look of a mid-1960s Chevelle combined with straightforward small block performance, this could be an interesting starting point. At $25,000, the condition of the body and the quality of the mechanical work will ultimately determine just how attractive the deal really is. Number 7. The 1968 Chevrolet Camaro. The 1968 Chevrolet Camaro is one of those cars that needs very little introduction. With its aggressive proportions, iconic styling, and endless performance potential, the first-generation Camaro remains one of America's most desirable classic muscle cars. This example is listed for $53,000 or best offer in Livonia, Michigan, and it has an interesting ownership history. According to the seller, the car's body shows approximately 93,172 miles, while the professionally built engine has only around 4,000 miles. And that engine is where this Camaro gets serious. Under the hood is a blueprint 355 cubic inch V8 producing approximately 390 horsepower. The engine is paired with a turbo 400 automatic transmission and a 2,400 revolutions per minute stall torque converter, creating a drivetrain designed for strong acceleration and plenty of street performance. Power is sent to a 12-bolt rear end equipped with 4.10 Posey traction gears. That's an aggressive rear-end setup, and combined with the 355 V8, it should give this Camaro plenty of punch when the throttle is opened. Fuel delivery comes from a Holly Street Avenger 670 CFM carburetor, a popular choice for a street-driven small-block Chevrolet because it offers a good balance between performance and drivability. The seller also says the car has been upgraded with power steering and power brakes, two features that can make a significant difference when driving a classic Camaro in modern traffic. Inside, the car has received several recent updates, including new carpet, new seat covers, and upgraded speakers. There are new 6x9 speakers in the rear and new 4-inch speakers up front, adding some modern entertainment without completely changing the classic character of the cabin. Another major positive is the ownership history. The seller says his father is the second owner, meaning this Camaro has reportedly spent most of its life with only 2 owners. For a 1968 car, that's a particularly appealing story. In my opinion, the combination of a professionally built 355 TH400 automatic, 12-bolt Posey rear, and 4.10 gears makes this Camaro much more than a cosmetic cruiser. It's clearly built with performance in mind. At $53,000, however, the price puts this Camaro into a competitive part of the first-generation Camaro market. Before making an offer, I'd want to see documentation for the engine build, verify the claimed horsepower, inspect the body and floors for rust or previous repairs, and confirm the condition of the 12-bolt rear end and TH400 transmission. I'd also pay close attention to how the 4.10 gears affect highway driving. They're excellent for acceleration, but without an overdrive transmission, highway RPM can be relatively high. Overall, this 1968 Chevrolet Camaro looks like a strong-running, second-owner classic with serious street performance and a substantial list of upgrades. If you're searching for a first-generation Camaro that combines classic looks with nearly 400 horsepower and a performance-oriented drivetrain, this one is certainly worth a closer inspection. Number 8. The 1966 Chevrolet Chevelle. The 1966 Chevrolet Chevelle is one of the most recognizable American muscle cars of the 1960s, and this particular example is being offered as a fully restored car aimed at buyers who want a finished classic rather than another project. Located in Morehead, Kentucky, this Chevelle is listed for $97,500. It shows approximately 58,000 miles, has an automatic transmission, and is finished in an aggressive black-on-black color combination. The seller describes the vehicle as being in excellent condition, with a clean title and no significant reported problems. The listing itself is brief, but the seller makes one major claim. The car has been fully restored and has an appraisal of $97,500, matching the current asking price. That makes the restoration quality particularly important for any potential buyer. With a classic at this price level, the condition of the body, paint, chrome, interior, drivetrain, chassis, and underside can have a major impact on the car's actual market value. A serious buyer would want to review the appraisal and restoration documentation and inspect the car carefully before making a purchase. The black exterior and black interior give this Chevelle a particularly aggressive appearance. Combined with its fully restored presentation, The car should have strong visual appeal whether it's sitting at a local cruise night, parked at a classic car show, or displayed as part of a collection. In my opinion, this is the kind of listing where documentation is everything. The $97,500 price places the Chevelle firmly in the premium classic car market, so the quality and authenticity of the restoration need to justify that number. If the appraisal is backed by a high-quality restoration and the car checks out in person, this could be an impressive turnkey Chevelle for a serious collector. But because the advertisement provides very few mechanical details, buyers should do their homework rather than relying on the asking price alone. For a nearly six-figure classic, a professional inspection and verification of the appraisal would be essential. Number 9. The 1967 Chevrolet Nova SS Tribute. If you're looking for classic Nova styling with a little more attitude under the hood, this 1967 Chevrolet Nova SS Tribute is certainly worth a closer look. Listed at $42,500 in Tolland, Connecticut, this two-door hardtop shows approximately 68,000 miles and comes with an automatic transmission. One important detail is that this is an SS Tribute, not a factory original Nova SS. The seller identifies the car as having a 116 VIN, so buyers should verify the car's history and documentation before making a purchase. The exterior is finished in marina blue metallic, covered with clear coat, and the seller notes the original FF paint code. The car sits on 15-inch rally wheels with chrome center caps and trim rings, giving it a classic Chevrolet appearance. The seller has also added new Nova SS badging to the front, trunk lid, and rear quarters. Under the hood is the original 283 cubic inch V8, paired with the original Powerglide automatic transmission and original 10-bolt rear end. The engine has received several upgrades, including an Edelbrock RPM intake manifold and a 650 CFM 4-barrel carburetor. The original point-style distributor remains in place, while the seller has installed new spark plugs and wires. According to the seller, the engine runs fantastic, and the heads were reportedly rebuilt fairly recently, although that work should be verified if documentation is available. Cooling is handled by an aluminum radiator, and the seller says the car runs cool. Headers and a dual exhaust system give the little 283 a more aggressive sound than the factory setup. The chassis has also received attention, with a rebuilt front end, new shocks, and good tires. Inside, the Nova has a black interior with bucket seats, along with a new headliner and new door panels. There's also an interesting documentation point here. The car is currently registered in Connecticut, and because Connecticut does not issue titles for vehicles this old, the seller says it comes with a copy of the registration and a bill of sale. That's something an out-of-state buyer should understand before purchasing, especially if the car will be titled in another state. At $42,500, what do I think? The car certainly has the look and presence of a classic Nova SS, and the combination of the marina blue paint, rally wheels, bucket seats, and SS-style badging gives it a very desirable appearance. The upgraded 283 also sounds like a fun street combination, while the Powerglide keeps the car simple and easy to drive. However, the fact that it's a tribute rather than a genuine SS is extremely important when considering the price. I'd want to verify the VIN, history, mechanical condition, previous restoration work, and registration paperwork before committing to the asking price. If those areas check out, this could be an attractive driver for someone who wants the classic Nova SS appearance without requiring a factory original collector car. For a buyer who values style and usability over strict originality, this 1967 Chevrolet Nova SS Tribute in Tolland, Connecticut, could be an interesting classic to take to local cruise nights and weekend drives. The asking price is $42,500, with the seller open to serious buyers. Number 10. The 1966 Plymouth Satellite 440 Big Block. This 1966 Plymouth Satellite, located in Newton, New Hampshire, is listed for $14,000 OBO and offers a lot of classic Mopar attitude for the money. According to the seller, this Satellite originally came from the South, and the body reportedly has no rot at all. That's an important advantage with a 1960s car, especially for buyers looking for a solid foundation for a performance build. The biggest attraction is under the hood. A 440 cubic inch big block V8 equipped with 440 source cylinder heads and an Edelbrock intake manifold. The combination gives this relatively understated Satellite the kind of serious Mopar performance that can turn it into a very entertaining street car. The car has also received several upgrades aimed at making it more capable and enjoyable to drive. Those include Borgeson power steering, a front disc brake conversion, American racing wheels, and Hedman headers. The fuel system has also been upgraded with a fuel cell and Holley fuel pump. That combination of a big block engine, upgraded steering, modernized front brakes, and performance hardware gives this Satellite a nice balance between old-school muscle and improved street usability. Personally, I think the $14,000 asking price is what makes this one especially interesting. You're getting a 1966 Mopar with a 440 big block and several desirable upgrades without the price tag associated with a fully restored high-dollar muscle car. Of course, buyers should verify the condition and specifications of the 440, inspect the chassis and floors carefully, and check the quality of the brake, steering, and fuel system conversions. The seller says there is no rot, but an in-person inspection is still essential. There are no trades being considered, and the seller is asking $14,000 or best reasonable offer. The 1966 Plymouth Satellite may not carry the same immediate recognition as a Charger or Roadrunner, but that's part of its appeal. With a 440 big block, upgraded disc brakes and power steering, performance headers, an Edelbrock intake, and a reportedly solid, rot-free body, this Satellite could be a seriously fun old-school Mopar sleeper without breaking the bank. Number 11. The 1966 Chevrolet Chevelle SS 396. The 1966 Chevrolet Chevelle SS 396 represents one of the most important steps in the evolution of Chevrolet's muscle car lineup. When Chevrolet introduced the big block 396 into the Chevelle SS, it transformed this stylish intermediate into a serious performance machine, and that combination remains highly desirable today. This example is listed for $68,750 in Bronxville, New York, with 62,524 miles and a manual transmission. The car is finished in blue, has a clean title, and is described as having no significant damage or known problems. The centerpiece is, of course, the 396 cubic inch big block V8. The 396 gave the Chevelle a completely different personality from the smaller engine versions, delivering the strong low-end torque and unmistakable big block sound that helped establish Chevrolet's reputation during the muscle car era. The manual transmission is another major attraction. For enthusiasts, a manual gearbox adds a much more engaging connection to the car, allowing the driver to make the most of the big block's torque and performance. The reported 62,524 miles is also an interesting detail. Given the age of the vehicle, a prospective buyer should verify the mileage through documentation, service records, and ownership history rather than assuming it is original. The listing describes the Chevelle as being in good overall condition with no significant damage or problems, and the seller reports a clean title. Those are encouraging signs, particularly for a car in this price range. At $68,750, this Chevelle is firmly positioned in collector territory rather than simply being an affordable weekend project. That means authenticity becomes especially important. Before buying, I would want to verify the SS 396 identification, engine and transmission numbers, body and trim information, and any available factory documentation. A detailed inspection should also cover the floors, frame, trunk, body panels, suspension, brakes, and drivetrain. On a valuable 1966 SS, originality and the quality of previous restoration work can make a substantial difference in real-world value. In my opinion, the combination of SS 396 specification, big block power, manual transmission, and relatively low reported mileage gives this Chevelle plenty of appeal. The blue exterior also gives it a classic and understated look that suits the car extremely well. The biggest question isn't whether the 1966 Chevelle SS 396 is desirable. It absolutely is. The important question is whether this particular example has the documentation, originality, and quality necessary to justify its $68,750 asking price. Overall, this 1966 Chevrolet Chevelle SS 396 has the core ingredients that make these cars so collectible. Big block Chevrolet power, a manual transmission, classic styling, and strong muscle car heritage. For the ride enthusiast, a properly documented and well-preserved example could be a fantastic addition to a serious classic car collection, while still being the kind of machine that's meant to be driven and enjoyed. Number 12. The 1966 Oldsmobile Cutlass. If you're looking for an affordable entry into the classic American car hobby, this 1966 Oldsmobile Cutlass is an interesting option. It may not have the celebrity status of a Chevelle or GTO, but that's part of what makes a car like this appealing. It offers classic styling and V8 power without the same level of attention from collectors. Listed for $12,500 in Fargeville, New York, this Cutlass is described as being in good condition and is presented as a running and driving classic. Under the hood is a 330 cubic inch Oldsmobile V8, paired with an automatic transmission and a floor-mounted shifter. The 330 was one of Oldsmobile's important small block V8s during this era, offering strong torque and plenty of potential for a fun street cruiser. The interior features bucket seats, adding a sportier feel to the cabin and making the Cutlass more interesting than a basic full-size cruiser. One of the more useful upgrades is a front disc brake conversion. That's an important improvement on a classic car, especially for someone who plans to drive it regularly. Better braking performance can make the car much more comfortable and confidence-inspiring in modern traffic. The seller also emphasizes that the car is solid underneath and has a solid frame. That's one of the first things I'd want to investigate on any classic from the Northeast, where years of exposure to road salt can create serious structural problems. The seller says the Cutlass runs and drives as it should, which means this appears to be a driver rather than a project that needs to be completely rebuilt before it can hit the road. In my opinion, the biggest attraction here is the price. At $12,500, you're getting a genuine 1960s Oldsmobile with a V8, automatic transmission, bucket seats, front disc brakes, and reportedly solid structure. It's also a car that could be taken in several directions. You could preserve it as an honest driver, gradually improve the cosmetics, or use it as a foundation for a more ambitious Oldsmobile build. Before purchasing, I would thoroughly inspect the frame, floor pans, rocker panels, trunk, and suspension mounting points. I'd also verify the condition of the 330 engine and automatic transmission and inspect the quality of the front disc brake conversion. Overall, this 1966 Oldsmobile Cutlass looks like an affordable and potentially fun classic for someone who wants something a little different from the usual muscle car choices. At $12,500, it's certainly one of the more budget-friendly V8 classics on this list. And if the solid body claim checks out, it could be a very interesting starting point for a weekend cruiser. Number 13. The 1967 Chevrolet Camaro Pro Touring. The 1967 Chevrolet Camaro is already one of the most recognizable first-generation muscle cars, but this particular example takes the classic formula in a much more modern direction. It's a pro touring build, combining iconic late 1960s styling with contemporary performance and upgraded components. Located at East Coast Classic Cars in Lillington, North Carolina, this Camaro is listed for $99,500. It shows just 3,500 miles, has a manual transmission, and wears a striking burnt orange exterior with a black interior. The listing describes the car as being in very good condition, with a clean title and no significant reported problems. Under the hood is an LS2 V8, and according to the seller, the engine has been dyno tested at 455 horsepower at the wheels. That is serious output for a lightweight first-generation Camaro and should provide a very different driving experience from the original small block configurations these cars were known for. The car also features anvil carbon fiber hood and trunk components, reducing weight while giving the Camaro a distinctly modern appearance. These details fit perfectly with the pro touring philosophy of combining classic styling with modern engineering. Inside, the Camaro has received a full TMI interior, giving the cabin a more contemporary and refined feel while still maintaining the character of a classic muscle car. The listing identifies this as a one-owner vehicle, and the seller states that it is paid off and comes with a clean title. With only 3,500 miles shown, the car certainly presents itself as a low-mileage, highly finished build. The advertisement mentions that the complete specifications are provided in the final photo, so buyers interested in the car would want to review those details carefully. With a six-figure asking price, knowing exactly what suspension, braking, drivetrain, and chassis components went into the build is especially important. In my opinion, this Camaro is aimed squarely at enthusiasts who want the best of both worlds. You get the unmistakable shape and personality of a 1967 Camaro, but the LS2 engine, 455 horsepower, carbon fiber components, and modern TMI interior move it firmly into the pro touring category. At $99,500, it's certainly not an inexpensive classic, but if the supporting components and workmanship are as impressive as the presentation, this could be a seriously capable street and show car. For someone who wants a first-generation Camaro that can deliver modern performance without giving up its classic identity, this one deserves a closer look. Number 14. The 1966 Dodge Coronet 440. Here's a Mopar that immediately gets serious attention because of what's under the hood and, more importantly, what it was originally built with. This 1966 Dodge Coronet 440 is listed for $85,000 in Dryden, Michigan, with approximately 59,000 miles showing on the odometer. The seller describes this car as one of only 96 factory 426 Hemi Coronet 442-door hardtops produced with an automatic transmission. That factory Hemi pedigree is the biggest story here. The car is finished in EE1 dark blue poly, a color that gives this Coronet a subtle appearance while hiding the serious performance potential underneath. According to the seller, the car runs and drives great, tracks straight on the road, and has a deep exhaust note without being excessively loud. That's an interesting balance for a car with this kind of muscle car reputation. The transmission features a reverse manual valve body, while the rear end uses a 3.55 gear ratio. So although this Coronet can cruise comfortably, the seller makes it clear that there's plenty of performance available when you put your foot down. But there's an important detail that collectors need to know. The engine block is not the original block. The current block reportedly came from a 1969 Roadrunner. That doesn't erase the car's factory Hemi history, especially with the documentation included, but it is a major factor when evaluating an $85,000 asking price. Fortunately, the seller says the car comes with a substantial collection of original documentation and parts. Included are 2 factory build sheets, a copy of the original IBM punch card, a Certicard, original factory door panels and seat covers, along with various small spare parts. The car also comes with a set of custom-made steel wheels, for 15x7 wheels and 2 15x6 wheels, designed to accept the 1966-style 10-inch dog dish hubcaps. There are also 4 polished 10-inch dog dish hubcaps included. For a serious Mopar collector, those documentation and original components could be extremely valuable when researching the car's history and authenticity. So what do I think about the $85,000 price tag? This is definitely not a typical Coronet 440. The reported factory production number of just 96 cars gives it a significant rarity factor, and the factory 426 Hemi connection makes it considerably more interesting than an ordinary 1966 Coronet. At the same time, the non-original engine block is something any serious buyer needs to investigate carefully. I would want to verify the VIN, factory build sheets, original equipment, engine provenance, transmission details, and the car's complete restoration and ownership history before considering an offer anywhere near the asking price. For the right collector, though, this could be a very special Mopar. It has the aggressive performance heritage of the legendary 426 Hemi, the understated look of dark blue poly, and enough original documentation to make its history worth investigating. At $85,000, this is clearly aimed at serious Mopar enthusiasts rather than casual classic car buyers. If the documentation confirms its factory Hemi identity and the mechanical condition is as described, this 1966 Dodge Coronet 440 in Dryden, Michigan, could be one of the more interesting rare Mopars on the market. And unlike many museum piece classics, the seller says this one runs, drives, and cruises well, meaning the next owner may actually get to enjoy the car on the road. Number 15. The 1986 Cadillac Fleetwood. This 1986 Cadillac Fleetwood, located in McClure, Pennsylvania, is listed for just $1,000 and could be an interesting project for someone who appreciates classic American luxury. The seller describes the car as beautiful, with an immaculate interior. Even more importantly, it has reportedly been garage kept for the last 25 years, which could be a major advantage when evaluating a vehicle from the mid-1980s. However, there is one major catch. The car does not currently run. That means this isn't a ready-to-drive classic. Instead, it's being offered as a project or potential collector car, and the next owner will need to determine why it won't start and what it will take to return it to the road. Personally, the long-term garage storage is what makes this listing interesting. A well-preserved interior and a car that has been protected from the elements for decades can provide a much better starting point than a similar vehicle that has spent years sitting outside. At only $1,000, there is also room in the budget for mechanical work, assuming the body, frame, and other major components are in good condition. Before buying, I'd want to inspect the engine, transmission, fuel system, electrical system, brakes, suspension, and especially the underside for hidden rust. A car that has sat for 25 years can also require extensive replacement of rubber components, fluids, belts, hoses, and other age-sensitive parts even if the body looks excellent. The 1986 Cadillac Fleetwood represents a different kind of classic car experience, less about muscle and more about American luxury, comfort, and presence. For $1,000, this non-running Fleetwood could be a fascinating project for the ride enthusiast. If the immaculate interior and long-term garage storage are as described, bringing this Cadillac back to life could turn a very inexpensive purchase into a seriously cool vintage cruiser.